Really excited to have you all here today. Just to be fully transparent, this is actually the first time we've gone through an action planning session with a group, so bear with us. This process is also designed for about like 15 or more people. So we've kind of adjusted it for our smaller group today. But if we have to kind of pivot in the middle of doing things so they work for our smaller group, just kind of be patient with us. But like I said, we're really excited to be here. Today, we're going to get a little bit more clarity on what some of your next steps are so that we can make this Tribal Civics Project happen in your community. So I'll pass it over to Michelle to open us up.
Awesome, great. So like Michaela said, we're really excited to be here with you all this week to complete your action planning sessions. This is our first time, as Michaela mentioned, so this will be exciting for us and hopefully really exciting for you all as well. I'll quickly go over our agenda for the afternoon so you have an idea of what to expect. Right now, we're in our opening portion. After we do our kinship building activity, we'll dive right into action planning. On the next slide, I'll go over the steps in the process in a little more in depth. We'll take a 5-minute health break to stretch, grab a snack, jump right back into our action planning with our commitment and key action sections for about an hour. We'll do another break at 3:10 before getting back, wrapping up those key action steps and close with a recap and next steps for tomorrow. So this is our plan for today. Of course, you received the agenda in the email, so you can refer back to that and see what we've got in store for tomorrow. But I'll now go over kind of the process and what to expect for today and tomorrow. So action planning is made up of 8 steps. And so I'll go over kind of each step along the way. For this action planning session, our goal is to accomplish steps 1 through 5. And then tomorrow we'll complete steps 5 through 8. The context segment will establish a sense of groundedness at the start of your planning. We're going to clarify the task of developing your tribal civics project and the process, and we'll also review the prior decisions and consensus we came to during the workshop series. Then we'll go into visualizing success, where we'll have you imagine the day after completing your tribal civics presentation. This will help us generate excitement about the project and possibilities on what you can create. And then we'll look at the current reality to shed light on your team, acknowledge some of the capacities for your group and for the project, and then move right into commitment, which will help us establish a consensus for what you determine as a level of commitment, ownership, and enthusiasm for implementing your tribal civics project. This should hopefully bring some of that clarity and satisfaction to the group regarding commitment that we talked about briefly in workshops 3 and 4. So then step 5 is establishing those key actions. You'll brainstorm the work needed to fulfill the commitments from step 4, and you'll identify specific tasks and create task teams if you need in order to share the workload. Finally, we'll go into the calendar segment of the planning process, where we'll organize the specific actions needed for success in each team's particular task area. This will help you all have a feeling of doability to accomplish all of the tasks in the timeline that you've identified. Sounds like we're shooting for maybe something this summer. So as we know, we're in early July now, wanting to make sure that you feel confident with everything that you take on for the next 2 months. So then in step 7, we'll coordinate the major aspects of the project. We'll refine the sequence, integration, and realism of those major steps and ensure that the group is in agreement on your tasks, the budget, the follow through, and identify any potential problems that may arise. And then finally, we'll end tomorrow afternoon with the resolve segment that confirms the consensus and decisions and formally initiates your follow-up activities. We'll also, of course, celebrate the completion of your successful planning. So at the end of these 2 sessions, you'll have a clear plan with tasks and activities that are needed to develop and implement your tribal civics project. And this will outline your roles and responsibilities, as well as the timeline of dates and deadlines. So throughout the 4-part workshop series, you all had a chance to brainstorm a lot of great ideas and come up with an outline of a plan. And with that, we'll take all of those to integrate into these action planning sessions today and tomorrow. So now that we've gone over what we'll accomplish these next 2 days, I'm going to hand it back over to Michaela for kinship building activity.
All right, so you know we always like to have a little bit of fun together before we go off on our business for the day. So today I wanted just to do a quick little activity. So the first step is I would like you all to think of an unexpected, unique, or strange fact about yourself. And then once you've got that, you can DM that to me over the Slack chat. So if you don't know how to do that, just click the little chat at the bottom where it says to. It by default says everyone. So if you just click down and click my name, you can direct message your facts to me. And then once we get all of those in, I'm going to read them off and we're going to try and guess whose fact belongs to who. So, any questions? Well, whenever you're ready, just send me those and we'll get started once we have them all. All right, we've gotten 3, so we're just waiting for 2 more. All right, we are officially all submitted. So the first one is my first dog only had 3 legs. Can anybody guess who is the person on this call that had a 3-legged dog?
I was
Michelle.
I was
I
gonna
don't
say
know.
Kellen.
All right, vote for Michelle and a vote for Kellen. We'll wait to reveal who it actually is until the end so we don't give anything away by process of elimination. The next one is I was a former race car driver.
I know the answer. I won't say.
Well, I feel like that gives it away that it's Cindy.
We'll find out here in a little bit.
That was gonna be
Uh,
my answer.
okay, then the next one is I grew up in a mobile home. Any guesses on who that might be?
I'm gonna say maybe Carissa, just because she's not saying anything.
So this is a little harder when it's a small group, but we'll reveal that at the end. Okay, then the next one is 11 of my family members, great great uncles, aunt, and grandmother are all on the Chickasaw Dawes roll.
Lisa.
All right, and then the last one is I love really terrible cheap candy, Milk Duds, Tootsie Rolls, etc.
Kellen.
Well, you guys all know each other very well because all of those are correct. So, go team for knowing each other so well.
I didn't really think about that because my cool facts I knew they already knew. So I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, what do I have that maybe nobody would know?
Funny. Well, thanks for tagging along for that one. But we're gonna go ahead and get started on our action planning. So we're going to be using Jamboard a lot today. Michelle's going to share her screen and can scribe most of it, but we're also going to drop the Jamboard link in the chat as well if you'd rather follow along that way. There'll be a couple instances where you can, if you want, just add to the stickies yourself, but we'll of course have Michelle to scribe as well. So the first step is context. And so this is really going to help us kind of set the table or the foundation for the rest of these steps. And so we really just want to make sure we're kind of on the same page for the basic parameters of this project. And so a lot of these things we've kind of worked through in our different workshops that we've had together, but we did want to just kind of give a final chance to nail these things down. So anybody can come off mute and share kind of the answers to these, but the first one is, what are you guys going to be doing for your initiative?
I think we first talked about the what is putting it in. I don't know. Just a small hour session with the summer youth work program is what I'm assuming that would be.
Yes. Rebecca has the August 9th date, which is supposed to be for civics. So I believe that is the pilot date for what we're
Oh,
at least starting with.
cool. So then that also answers our second sickie, which is, when is this happening? So August 9th, do we know the time?
Yes, it would be that noon to 1 time slot.
Okay. And where is this happening?
So we have a program for our youth that take on different jobs throughout the SMSC enterprise. And on Wednesdays, we do a thing called a lunch and learn, where kids learn to make something healthy. They make it together, they eat, and then they learn about something that's particular to their community. So we hold that every Wednesday. Our first one's actually coming up next week throughout the summer. And then that takes place in our cultural center kitchen, the Hochikata Tea.
Perfect. So in the Hochikata kitchen. And then who would you kind of answer to this? So who's the audience for this? Youth, what ages?
13 to 17.
And then a little deeper of a question that I'd love to hear from everybody. Why are we doing this? Why is it important? Why now? Maybe we'll start with Carissa.
Yeah, so I think the reason why this particular group is we already have this lunch and learn kind of established, so we're not trying to recreate anything new. And this is a good, I feel this is a good age to get community member youth to be excited about what their role is within the community. On a very surface level, we don't need to dive real deep with the kids in this session, but it's just to get them excited. I always tell them, like Kellen knows, I always tell them, hey, we're sitting in with the next business council representative. Like someone in this room is going to sit on our council someday. So you guys need to think smart now about the decisions you make. And that includes decisions in the general council, the anything daily life, social media. So it's just trying to get them excited and to learn like they have power, whether they think they do or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll stop.
Beautiful. Lisa, did you want to add anything about why we're doing this, why it's important, why right now is the right time?
Yeah, I think the sentiment is just about, making sure that the younger people in the community that they understand how the community works, why everything is set up the way that it is for future planning. Because as Carissa said, they are going to be the future leaders in the community.
Cindy, do you have anything to add?
Ay, ay, ay. I don't know. I was kind of voluntold to come and sit in on this, and so I think it's a good thing. I think it'll help not only our younger children but also our adults learn about this. And it's for those people who haven't lived out there here their entire lives. They know more about their ancestors, and why things are the way they are out here. I think it'll be a good thing.
Mm. And Kellen, do you have any more whys to add?
I definitely would just echo what everybody said. I think that our youth are really at that point where they're starting to genuinely think about what it is to be an adult. And I think it's just a really crucial time to also have them really think about what their role is in their community, especially in terms of their government as well. So I think that it's a great audience to start with.
Mm. And now, anyone, is there any other whys that haven't been shared that we want to make sure we capture? All right, hearing none, I'll say we'll move on. So what about budget? Is there a budget set aside for this program? If so, how much?
I don't know. So we're in budget season right now too. I would just say, so if we have to expect something, but I don't know where the budget should live for this. Maybe it lives with the business council or I don't know. But I know we have budget dollars that we can access. I don't know how much, but I'm
Okay.
pretty positive we can get something.
Mhm. It sounds like since it's already kind of built into your lunch and learn, maybe like for this first one, you kind of are using that budget.
Yeah. And like that's not really because there's no really budget. Like we don't need anything, right?
It's kind of up to you all.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, education has a budget we can pull from. I know if we just do a proposal for the ed committee, Kellen,
Mhm.
we could get it paid for if we need anything that's not covered.
Yeah, I think it falls into a category with all of kind of our other, I want to call maybe like extracurricular programming, like financial literacy, boys and girls group. It would fall into that bucket. So it could definitely pull from that area of the budget.
Awesome. And then is there anything else, just as far as context, things that you should be aware of or that we kind of know about this program already?
I guess.
I think one thing
Oh,
that is
sorry.
always, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, you can go ahead.
That is always a challenge. One thing that's been great about the Lunch and Learn is that we have a captive audience, which is wonderful. Engagement always tends to be an issue, and when it begins to blossom and get bigger and live outside this program, getting community members engaged is going to be a hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, we could potentially do this as like a continued workshop, but I don't know what that looks like for programming, like, because it could live as cultural programming as well as, it's very much a collaborative thing that we should establish. And I think that's always a goal of mine because it shouldn't live anywhere. Everyone should own a little piece of it, I guess, is what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I do have a question. So thinking about this action planning and kind of what we're working towards is this August session. But then you're also wanting to kind of grow the August session is almost like a pilot. Is that correct? Okay, and so then would it also be helpful to, in addition to, going towards this pilot, also kind of thinking about like needs to happen after the pilot as well? So extending that timeline. I see head nods. So,
Yeah, so for the Lunch and Learn, just to give you like context of that program, we piloted that last year for the summer youth work program kids. So what happens is every Wednesday for 2 hours, they make the healthy lunch, they do something related to the community. And we just piloted that last year just to see how it went, just to see how it would be received. And there were a lot of kids that came to it. So I feel like once they start doing this and seeing this as a like program, then I feel like they'd be more comfortable like telling their parents to go to it because they had a great time, or there's food there. There's always an incentive with food. I mean, yeah.
for sure.
So we'll just have to meet after the August 9th to really flush out like this worked or that didn't.
Okay.
Which I think we did last year too, Kellen, correct? We met after the whole Lunch and Learn.
Yes.
Great. Cool. It's kind of nice that you all have sort of a container that this kind of makes sense to fit in already. So that does help, like you're saying, with engagement with that captive audience, but then also just like a process that your community's kind of used to and supports. That's way easier than trying to build a brand new thing. So cool. Anything else context-wise that folks want to make sure we're on the same page of?
I guess too, we can the more we build this out, I always do updates in front of like the general council with like my program, like the cultural programming. So I can bring it up at that point and any time that we need to say, hey, this is going on. And that happens every month. I do that every month. So
Cool.
I don't know if that matters, but
Anything else? Awesome. Well, we'll move on to our next step, which is visualizing success. And so this activity might feel a little similar. We kind of did something like this in March, but now that we've got kind of our idea nailed down a little bit, we wanted to revisit this idea. So this is really a space for divergent ideas. There's no wrong answers here. We just really want to get as much brainstorming as possible. And so I want you all to kind of sit back and imagine that the event has happened. It's right afterwards, you completed it, it was successful. I want to think about like what are the things that you see, what do you feel, what do you hear, kind of what does success look, feel, sound like?
I think one thing for me is, I think that kids are engaging with material when they start to have their own side conversations about it
Hmm.
that are, like relevant, but kind of them talking on their own. So I think hearing those side conversations to me would mean that they have absorbed the information and it was successful.
Mhm.
I think too, along with that, asking questions is always engaging. Like they're into it when they're asking questions about certain materials. I did a presentation with some people at NCAI, and the youth were really engaged with questions. So that just means they're pulling something from it.
Absolutely. What else?
I can just speak with like phones. They're not on their phone engaged with their phone if they're if it's successful.
Mhm. Yeah, that's huge, pulling those teens off their phones. So what are you feeling? Like what's the feeling that you have after this has gone successfully?
Cursa would be sending out a huge email thanking everybody for all their help and saying, what a great job, and couldn't do it without you. And it takes all of us and not just me.
I love that. What
Yeah.
else?
my collaboration emails. I think it feels like relieving, like, because piloting something is always really scary and like, oh, are the kids gonna hate this? Are they gonna like it? Like last year, I was really nervous, but after it was all said and done and no one hurt themselves with cutting up lettuce or whatever they were doing, I was really relieved. So I don't know, just relief, like, hi, I can breathe because I'm a helicopter parent, so that's how I roll. Along with all these kids.
For sure. Any other feelings?
Yeah, I know this isn't a feeling, but I was thinking about with some of our other programming, something that success to me is when the kids are asking for more of it. That's also when you know, like it's made an impact. You know, we've had that with other programming in the past, and I know for me that was a big measure of success, that kids were sad when it was over and wanted more content.
Mm. What else?
I can just say, like, to the question, who is there?
Mm.
Like, I imagine summer youth work program participants. But this isn't a closed session. Like, their parents can absolutely come and participate in any of these workshops that we give. I don't think it's ever closed, right, Kellen? Like, I don't think we've ever had to message that you can't be here during this time. So I think their parents or guardians coming to participate in some of these workshops and just learn more about the community would be an awesome thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if their parents or if the kids are liking it, usually the parents are like, what's going on here? Because they're asking to go then. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about, we've talked about how you all as organizers would feel. How do you want the participants to feel afterwards?
You know, I think our students, you know, as many students are, but I think even more so, they don't understand their power and their voice in their own community. And so I think seeing glimmers of, I don't even know what the right feeling word for that is, but you know, that empowerment piece being there, that they are almost hopeful, they're talking in a sense of like what the future looks like in a positive manner. You know, those are also great indicators of success.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say like enlightened to what they can potentially do in their community. Like they had no idea before. Now they're enlightened to all these different things that they have access to. I think that's really, like Kellen said, it's empowering for kids to find that stuff out.
Mm-hmm. And so then moving a little bit deeper, like we've talked about how do they feel, but what do we want them to do after this? Is there any sort of action that we're hoping to spur?
I can stem on that one. So right now we have a lot of younger teens making, I wouldn't say bad decisions because any decision is a learning opportunity. So some right now are making poor choices just on their daily life of things. And I just want them to know that once they do all this, once they learn more, once they actually feel empowered, that they don't make those poor choices and they can, I don't know, make better informed decisions about, hey, if I am going to be a tribal council member, I can't be doing shitties in the parking lot, you know, like, like I can't be writing this on my social media or something like that. Like, this isn't a good choice because it impacts my future. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Absolutely. What else?
I also think this connects to, we're doing a lot of strat planning right now for our education department as well. And something I know I've echoed a lot is, hoping that students as they turn 18, they find their place and their role in the community, and
Mm,
that brings that, sense of belonging and all of those things that come with it. And,
mhm,
I think understanding that you really have being in the smaller community and smaller government, like your voice is a very strong one. Everybody's voice is very much heard, and that you have a part in that. So really helping them understand their identity, I guess, so to speak.
mhm. So what else? Like really thinking about kind of all of your senses, putting yourself there. Like, is there anything that you can smell? Like what scents are in the air?
Stinky kids. Just kidding. This is
I
all
mean,
teenagers. Don't put
yeah.
that. I'm just kidding. Um, um, I don't know. I think too, we start in good ways often. So if we do this workshop, if we smudge off beforehand, just because I feel like that's really grounding for our kids to smudge outside and then come inside, or start outside because they're really connected to nature and all that. I don't know.
Hmm.
That might
Yeah,
be a
that's great. I mean, and sweaty kids like that is successful because they have to be there to smell their sweat. So, anything else? I mean, I know there's food there, so will you smell their yummy food?
What is August 9th, Kellen, for the food? I know she has a whole calendar.
Please hold, I'll tell you here in just August 9th. Gonna make me click the buttons. Hold on. It is a pasta bar with salad.
Mm, that sounds delicious. I'm gonna get hungry by the end of working through this. So, is there anything else? Any other sights, sounds, feelings, emotions?
I think impacting the community is an important one. So it's teaching them a strong sense of their role and responsibility. After these lunch and learns, there's a lot of kids that, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't, whatever. Like they 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 have a stronger sense of their responsibility and role within the community. I don't know if that makes any
Hmm.
sense. Not just the lunch and learn, but I feel like after this one, they're gonna learn a lot more.
Anything else? You'll notice that's kind of my phrase of this whole workshop.
And I think even just kind of the summary of it is, pride, like pride in how the kids respond, pride in what we put out there, pride in their community, that takes so many different forms when you're
Mm,
talking about civics.
I love that. Well, that transitions us nicely into kind of the next part of this is so now what we want to do is identify kind of 3 to 4 main themes of success. This will kind of help guide us through the rest of this workshop and the things that we're going through. So as we're looking at kind of all of the ideas and input that you've put there, is there any like themes that are standing out? Things that are maybe like 2 to 3 words? You said pride was maybe one of them. That's a great example of kind of what we're trying to do.
I'd say that empowerment.
Mm,
I say identity would be a good one.
mm,
would engaged be a theme? I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
terrible at this. I'm sorry.
you're great at it. Anything else? So as we kind of move through the rest of these different slides, this is something that we're always going to be kind of working towards. These are the themes that we want to make sure your initiative produces, that you feel during it and after it, and kind of going into the future. So any last comments before we move on to our current reality? We'll move along then. And so then this next step is really about kind of acknowledging the realities that we're living in. And so this can help shed lights on where your strengths are, where your weaknesses, where there might be some challenges or areas for improvement, and really helps kind of lay the groundwork for your project commitments. And so as we are doing kind of the rest of this, I really want you all to think realistically about your capacity to carry on this project. We don't want to get so excited in this action planning process that we commit to doing all of these things that we're really excited about that realistically we just don't have the time or space or capacity to do. And so this current reality can help us kind of ground in that. And so we'll go through each section, but I did want to point out when we're talking about our strengths and weaknesses, so that's really internal to your team. Where as a team, as individuals, do you have strengths and weaknesses? And I know it can be kind of difficult to talk about weaknesses or even like the dangers of success, but it is really important that we talk about some of the what feels more negative, just so we can be aware and come up with ideas to get around those. And so that's internal, and then benefits of success and dangers of success. And so this is kind of external after the project has happened. What are some really great things that could come out of this? And then what are some maybe unintended consequences that you might just want to be aware of externally? So, starting off with our strengths, we'll start. I don't know if Lisa, if you're still there, I know you had to step away, which is totally fine. So, in that case, we'll start with Kellen. What are some strengths of your team that will lead to the vision?
One thing I know, even as we talk about extending the team, that is helpful is we do have an education department with licensed teachers that understand how to write lesson plans and curriculum and what that all looks like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Krista, do you have any more strengths?
I'd say our budget is a strength. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Sweet. Okay. I'd say that's a huge strength of us here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not having to make, because sometimes with part of this action planning, a big part of it is where's our money going to come from? How are we going to get it? And so, yeah, not having to worry about that is certainly a strength. What else?
I'd say a part of our strength too is all of our departments collaborating, a collaboration in all of this, because we need a lot of team for this whole thing to happen. So I think that's a strength.
Absolutely. What else?
This may sound simple, but just even I think the buy-in of our team is there, like the importance of this topic and really creating something strong to get this information out.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. Anything else? So now we want to think about what are some of our weaknesses as a team?
It's awesome that we're able to collaborate, but we also have a million different things going on in each of our own departments, and sometimes scheduling can be a challenge.
Oh, I've noticed.
Well, and scheduling can be a huge challenge with our general council meetings, our business council meetings, board of director meetings, all of our work group meetings. So that's a struggle everywhere.
Mhm. What
I'd
else?
say a struggle or a weakness maybe with mm, the kind of planning, maybe the planning or the execution of
Mm.
this actually going forward.
Mhm.
I think that could be a weakness because some things just die off because no one really takes, I hate saying ownership, but in this one, it's going to be an ownership thing because it's what it is.
Mhm. What else?
I think too with that, if one person comes, people think that it's a failure.
Mm.
And I am, for one, I hate thinking like that because if you get one person, that's more than none. And
Mhm.
so just attendance, I guess, might be a weakness of ours in the community.
Mhm.
Not for the summer youth work program, but if this pilot, if it gets bigger, that could
Mhm.
be a weakness.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that, especially like you said, since your community is so small too. Um, that definitely could be a challenge. What else?
I know this might go into kind of more our second bullet, but maybe on like expanding, like then keeping the process going too, like that ownership, not just in, okay, we do the pilot and then when what we do next, but how do we continue to keep this going?
Mm. Mhm. Kind of in the long term.
Yeah.
Anything else? So we've thought kind of internally. Now we want to think external. So kind of how does this impact your community? What are some potential unintended consequences or considerations that you might want to think about in your community?
I'll start with that one. I think a danger would be too much information to the public.
Mm.
We're a pretty private tribe, and if some details got out to the public, I know that could be a detriment to some of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What else? I can see kind of with any um, kind of time you're putting on a program or whatnot, it's always hard to capture kind of everyone that needs to be in the room. And so sometimes it's easy to leave people out or a certain population out unintentionally. So maybe like exclusionary.
I think maybe an intent could be a danger of success
Mm-hmm.
because who this is intended for versus who it's being projected to. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that's a danger. I think it would be.
Mm-hmm. That kind of reminds me of something that Levi talks about. Like, you're always going to have people in your community kind of side-eyeing and saying, like, well, who's doing this? Who is this for? Is that something you see happening in your community?
Yeah, I see like why is this being if this does go to the public versus like more community, I feel like that could be that's happened a lot where it's like just I don't know. It should have stayed internal, but it was given to the public
Mm-hmm.
for what reason? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something we experience a lot in Indian country because not all of our practices, protocols, things are meant to be shared or are only meant to be shared in certain ways. And so how do we make sure that information is accessible enough to those that need to learn it so it can continue on and to those it rightly lives with? And then how do we protect it from those that aren't meant to see it or have it?
And that makes me think a lot about, something that had come up in terms of, you know, more culture when we were talking about our education strat planning, but I see this falling into that too, is you know, how we're infusing it and is it something that students can be getting credit for at school? And
Mm,
there's, obviously this great ability for students to be captive in that because they're getting credit, they're getting a grade, but again, it does go back to, concerns about that information getting out
mm,
um, to the public and how deep that could really go because obviously the school districts would need to approve what the curricula was and how
mm,
deep dive could we go. So really kind of being able to balance that might be tricky as we grow the program.
mhm. Anything else? Right, and then the last one we want to think about are what are some benefits of planning and implementing this project? So it's successful. What are some of the benefits to your community?
I think more informed decisions at general council meetings or even attendance at general council meetings.
Mm,
Yeah, I was going to say something, we talk about a lot with so many different things is engagement and
mhm,
knowledge a lot of times creates that engagement. So that would be what one of my biggest hopes would be success wise.
mhm. What else?
I guess a benefit too could be the kids making the poor decisions right now. You don't see them making some decisions that they currently are.
Mm,
So
mhm,
more, I don't know, better decision making, just
mhm.
being a human.
Yeah. So Lisa, I know you had to step away for a second, so we're kind of just talking about what is the current reality right now. And so we're on the benefits of success. So is there anything that you can think of that would benefit the community for if this initiative is successful? Nothing more to add. Okay. Um, Great. So now what we're going to do, and you'll kind of notice this is the process. So we'll have you guys brainstorm a bunch, and then we're going to try and kind of whittle it down to a couple key points. And so now that we're looking at all of these sections, we'll start with our strengths. Is there one or two that's the most important, or is there a way to kind of summarize all of them?
I just maybe even say like we have a strong collaborative team.
Mm-hmm. Does everybody agree with that? And then kind of the same thing for weaknesses. Is there either one that's the most important or a way to kind of summarize all of the stickies here?
planning is important to be on the weakness side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Planning into schedules and community events.
Maybe like planning and implementation.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah, and along those same lines, I would say just follow through.
Mm-hmm. That's always the hardest part. And then with the dangers of success or unintended consequences, any way to kind of summarize that up into one sentence or sticky?
I
I
just,
just
oh, sorry.
go ahead, your turn.
I just say public versus private, like what
Mm.
we need to share versus what we don't need to share.
Were you going to say anything different, Kellen? And then thinking about benefits of success. So is there a way to kind of summarize those thoughts?
Say a lot of them are just better decision-making skills.
Mm-hmm. Well, is there anything we're missing in any of these sections before we move on? Well, we are definitely ahead of schedule, but we are at our 5-minute health break. So we'll go ahead and give you all just a quick little brain break, and we'll have you come back at 2:05. Sorry, I didn't realize I was not muted. Hello. Hope everyone had a refreshing 5 minutes, and if you couldn't step away, at least you could look at this pretty picture and feel refreshed. So now that we're back, we're going to dive into our commitment phase. And so we're, like I said, scooting right through. I wouldn't be surprised if we end a little early today, but don't get too excited about that quite yet. So the commitment stage, this is really just to help come to agreement on the scope of the project and outcomes and bring clarity around what you all are committed to. And so we really want to make sure you all feel good about the work and energy that's going into the project. Again, being mindful of your capacity, but just having consensus to on the level of commitment needed. Folks have ownership in this plan and enthusiasm for your event. So I encourage you all through this stage to not think kind of micro level granular, but we're also a little more granular than big picture. So kind of somewhere in the middle with these commitments. So before we get started, I would like to ask a volunteer to reread back to us what our vision is for this. So if somebody would just come off mute and read those stickies.
Sure, I can do that. Vision is pride, empowerment, identity, and engaged.
Beautiful. And then if somebody would want to volunteer to read our current reality, which is the gray boxes.
I will. The gray boxes, right? The strengths?
Yep.
Okay. Strengths, we have a strong collaborative team. Weaknesses, planning, implementation, and follow through. Dangers or unintended consequences, public versus private, what we need to share versus what we don't. Opportunities, improve decision-making skills.
Beautiful. So keeping these things in mind, I want you all to think about, in light of the current reality, what is this committee willing to commit to? So some example commitment phrases are, we're going to give everyone an afternoon where they feel included in community. We'll make sure the event is as safe as possible, kind of statements like that. So if it helps to have a starting phrase of, we're committed to a successful project that includes ... So any commitments come to mind?
Food. We commit to everyone being fed and not going thirsty.
Love that. What else?
Maybe something like open dialogue, like everyone's opinions are valued and heard.
Mm. What else?
I would say that individually, if you're committed to follow through with a task or something regarding the project, then you should own it and follow.
Mhm. Mm. What else?
I would say our 7 Dakota values we can commit to in participating in this.
Yeah, I love that. What else?
I think we could commit all to a safe space for all of
Mm.
the participants.
Mhm.
Like Kellen was saying, they can feel seen, heard, no matter what they say.
Mm. Mhm.
Don't hold grudges, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
Honesty. That's a Dakota value, but still.
I don't know the right way to put this, but seeking truth, like if there's something they ask that maybe isn't in the course, that
Mm.
we will seek out that information.
Mhm. What else?
I think we should all commit to not losing sight of what this is for, the intention behind it.
Mhm. What else?
Maybe even just like our own commitment to the project, like actually seeing it through to its full project and continuing it onward.
Mhm. What else?
If we commit to, I don't want to say change, but improvement
Mm.
of this as it keeps building,
Mhm.
strive for improvement. I don't know.
Yeah. I really like that because that is such a like indigenous way of thinking, knowing that whatever we do is not going to be perfect the first time, and we can't get so paralyzed by that need to be perfect that we don't actually do things. Like it's okay to make a mistake and to learn from it and to change. So I really like that one. So now what we want to do is kind of condense this into 4 main commitments. And so are there any that we can either combine, ones that we really want to make sure we have? How do we get to 4?
I think if you put the 7 decoded values as like our main commitment, because that encompasses like a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like honesty, truth, all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
generosity, all that stuff in there. So
Great.
I think that would cover a lot of these, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know though.
I really like the strive for improvement one that Carissa said as well too. I think that that is important whenever you're building something.
Mm-hmm. What else is there? If there's maybe a couple that are similar, is there a way to kind of summarize it into one?
Maybe like optimal space, that's kind of safety, speaking, eating,
Mm,
all of that stuff.
mm-hmm. And then I think there's one more that I see kind of more about kind of your all's commitment as a group. So there's like the following through on assigned tasks and group commitment to the project. Is there a way to kind of combine those two?
I would just say like team commitment
Mm,
or group commitment to the
okay.
project.
Like honor your commitments.
Right.
Cool. So these are kind of the four main things that you all have decided to commit to. It's really important that everybody is excited about these. So how do folks feel? Is there any tweaking that needs to be done? Does this encompass everything? Maybe if we can get like an enthusiastic head nod and thumbs up if you like this.
Ah. I think as the team gets bigger, I mean, there's only what, 3 of us on here. So I mean, as the team kind of extends and gets bigger and bigger, I think this should be presented to them and made sure that they're okay with this too. It's
Mm,
like, what are they for meetings, like the meeting boundary thing? Like we
yeah,
commit to all of these things beforehand, and if you don't be on the project.
right,
That's kind of exclusionary, but realistically, that's kind of what they have to do, right?
for sure. Yeah, I think it's safe to say, like, even if you do grow more team members, like with you three being the ones that are here today, really do want to give you all that empowerment to kind of establish these things for the project moving forward, um, for sure. So, any other comments before we move on to key actions? Cool. Well, congrats for coming to consensus on your commitment. So we'll move into key actions. And so this one is where we might have to deviate from kind of our plans a little bit, but we'll try it out. So our first step is that we want you all to individually brainstorm some actions, and so this is where we are starting to get a little more granular and specific. So if you've got a piece of paper with you, that would probably be best. Um, but before we do that, I do want to just revisit the commitments we just came to. So maybe Lisa, would you want to reread the commitments that are there in the gray box?
Yep. So, excuse me, we have the 7 Dakota values: strive for improvement of the project, optimal space, safety, speaking, eating, honor your commitments as an individual and team. And I can't see if there's anything.
Nope, just those four. You're good. So keeping those commitments in mind, I want you to think about what are the high level actions, tasks that need to be done. And so the things that you write down, these should be verbs, action based types of things. And so maybe like 5 to 7 words total. And so we're going to give you all about 5 minutes, and we want you to individually brainstorm 20 different actions or tasks that answer the question, what are the specific actions we need to take to move towards this commitment and launch and implement our tribal civics project? So 20 is a lot, but it's intentional because a lot of times the most obvious answers are kind of what we spit out first. And so our brain needs to spit those out so we can come up with some of the more innovative ideas. So aim for 20 as much as you can. And then we'll give you 5 minutes and we'll come back with more instructions. Any questions? All right, so we'll start your 5 minutes now.
You always gave me what I wanted, somehow always found the time. Single parent, it's apparent that you stayed up on your grind. I remember you would put me first. It was hard, but you said, son, it could be worse. You were right, it's funny, looking back, days were sunny. You kept me smiling even though we didn't have the money that other families did. Somehow you made it happen. I promised mom that I'm gonna do it with this rapping. You took me everywhere, my cap in my backpack. 20 years later, now I'm rapping in snapbacks. Rocking a long braid, we came a long way. You kept me on the red road away from the wrong way. Forever I'm grateful for the life you gave. Tears that we cried, sacrifice you made. Yeah, single mother with the all stack. Raise a king, one day I'll bring it all back. Lived all my life, just me and you. Times got tough and you see me through. I ain't have a dad, we have a plan. Raised by a woman who made me a man. I know I ain't home when your boy is grown. I need you to know that you're not alone. I can let it rock, you will be my stone. Forever in my heart, you will be my stone. My stone. My stone.
If you're dying from the 7th Cavalry's bullets, or if you're dying from induced poverty and racism and class systems and sex systems, all right, and you're dying from alcoholism and poverty, all right, or someone has come in now in the name of maximizing their profit, and they're getting you to work in the mines, the uranium mines, and you're dying from lung cancer, and you're dying from the cancers and the diseases that come out of that. You're dying. It's the same as the bullet killing you, and I see it all as a war.
Dusty playing songs that my people sing. Make me feel like I ain't gotta worry about a thing. The balance swings, everyone treated like a king. Remember Mother Earth and the teachings that she brings. Rewind back, you'll find that it's all related. It reminds that with purpose we're all created. But that's debated, distorted by those who hated on our beliefs, cause we believed all things were sacred. The long awaited 7th generation feels the pain. Uranium drained from our black hills. Let it rain, genocide won't pay the bills. I feel the shame, suicidal thoughts give me chills. I can't escape it, warming up with the smallpox blanket. While I see my mother get abused, I'm accused of a rebel, cause I don't dance with your devil. I got these reservation blues. I bet their hearts drop when they hear these drums and hear our songs now. Tired of being oppressed, we standing strong now. Can't whitewash me in this white war. You can't speak about people you don't fight for. Drop when they hear these drums and hear our songs now. Tired of being oppressed, we standing strong now. Can't whitewash me in this white war. You can't speak about people you don't fight for. I'm a product of chaotic love, planted in psychotic mud. Arose from Rosebud, who rose from haunted clubs. Hooked on phonics, beating beating on my sonic drum. Addicted to my demons and my melancholic drug. Self-hate on my sleeve, self-destruction on my mind. Alone in this house I built with my beats constructed rhymes. I'm not allowed to leave until I deconstruct my mind. Historical trauma got my spirit stuck in time. Manifest destiny arrested all that is left for me. I used to be free in this land, but now I'm a refugee. In the name of progress, presidents order the death of me. Shout out the code of 38, I pray that you're blessing me. Resistance is natural, ancestral energies guide us in survival. Decolonize memories. Apologies will never make amends for your colonies. America, you a bitch, give us our sovereignty. Their hearts rock when they hear these drums and hear our songs now. Tired of being oppressed, we standing strong now. You can't whitewash me in this white war. You can't speak about people you don't fight for. Rock when they hear these drums and hear our songs now. Tired of being oppressed, we standing strong now. You can't whitewash me in this white war. You can't speak about people you don't fight for. These Indian wars never ended, descended from the spirit, singing songs.
All right, how are folks doing? Do you need more time? Or were you able to come up with your 20? I see that laughing, Lisa. Is that because you have 30? All right. So now that you've all come up with a big long list, what I'd like you to do is take a look at that list and star maybe 5 to 10 of your clearest, most important tasks that you came up with. And so maybe just give me a little thumbs up reaction, or just on your screen, give me a thumbs up once you've starred your favorites. Right. Okay, so it looks like we've all done that. So, Kellen, I'll ask you first. Can you read us your 5 to 10 clearest ideas? And Michelle will make stickies for them. So speak a little slowly.
Sure, let me grab my list here real quick. My camera's off because my dog needed to go out and he waits for no one. So 1 second.
No worries, I feel that. We can come back to you.
That would be great. He should be done by the end.
Sounds good. Lisa, would you like to start us off then?
So I don't have 5 to 10. I think I have about really good 3 good ones.
Okay.
So I said confirm confirm with internal partners their availability, because I thought this would be important to make sure that who wants to participate, that they're really going to be available and accessible.
Hmm. Wait 1 second, let Michelle kind of catch up with you. All right. And your next one.
Oh, sorry. Confirm regarding logistics, location, all those things that we wanted to make sure that everyone who's participating is going to be comfortable, like Carissa talked about food and everything, making sure that that's in place. And then I think the biggest one was messaging to the community regarding the project.
Do you want to say more about that?
Well, I know that the kids are going to be participating, their parents are going to be aware, but I think for the community, the broader community, just to know that this is happening as well, so that they can build some excitement about it, because this is, we're focusing on this group now, but knowing that it can be bigger and broader later on for more participants.
Great, thank you. Carissa?
So I just like did one word
Yeah.
things because I just went off. But I just, like Lisa said, so I did schedule,
Okay.
identify,
Identify what?
just everything, anything. I just
You
did
want?
one word. I kept it very broad because
Okay.
there's a lot.
For
Yeah.
sure.
The next one is believe. Provide. I don't know, maybe I was off topic, but allow. A lead. Change. Remember. Continue. And I think that's it. I
Perfect.
kept them very broad because I guess I didn't understand the assignment.
It's okay. We can drill in as we need to. Kellen?
Yeah, so my first one, and most importantly, I think Lee's already covered, make sure the menu is ready. And that, partners have been contacted in terms of creating that, food is a big one for a lot of our participants. Really making sure that we're also establishing our values, I think, at the beginning of our course with the students who are taking it. I think if that's what is core and important to our team, that, especially that honesty and vulnerability, that we share that with everyone.
Mhm.
I think another one that is important is having feedback surveys at the end to really think about how we can improve.
Mhm.
And then with that, kind of as a separate bullet, setting a time to review that feedback as a team.
Mhm.
And then my last one was really more that creating a timeline of how we're expanding the project
Mhm.
and continuing to honor that commitment.
Mhm. And so we had you star kind of your favorite ones, but now take a look at your list again and the ones that you haven't shared. Is there anything that's not listed up here that we need to make sure we do?
I don't have anything.
Okay. So whether it's on your list or not now, are there other tasks that will need to get done to implement this project?
I think if we were to have materials, meeting with the marketing department to help us work on the materials that we need,
Mm-hmm.
takeaways, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What about as it relates to like the actual content that you all will be teaching during the session?
We're gonna have to meet with archives,
Mm-hmm.
archives to get some documents that we may need for this project.
Mm-hmm.
And also the language TP to meeting with them, because I know we talked about this as like not civics, but calling it something else.
Right.
And that something else they can help with that.
Yeah, I like that. And even thinking just like practical for the day, like if you were going to put on an event, like what are the things that you need? Like maybe an agenda? What else?
Now, this is kind of a simple one. I know in our pilot, we agreed that Rebecca is going to be the person to present, but is she going to continue to be really the presenter of the material?
Hmm.
Or is that shared, or how is that going to work?
Yeah. Anything else that's needed, like just kind of programming wise?
I mean, moving forward, confirmation of the space that
Mm.
and where this program is going to be owned, in terms of the presentation part of it.
Hmm. So Lisa, one of the things that you said was, working with internal partners. Maybe it'd be helpful if we could list out kind of who are those internal partners that you guys will need to engage.
So Carissa already said one would be marketing, because,
Mm.
development of materials, um, catering, whoever we're going to use regarding the food. I'm assuming, you know, it might probably keep it in-house within the community. Um, uh, maybe transportation. I don't know.
Mm.
Some kids may need transportation, if their parents or whoever aren't able to bring them, even though it's in the community,
Hmm.
kids don't live that close to.
Right.
Um, so partnering with whoever, like Playworks has a bus, education has a van or something, let's see what else. Um, that's all I can think about right now.
Okay. Does anyone else think of any other kind of internal departments or people you'll need to work with?
I think the business council,
Mm.
just to make sure that this is all the information we can give to people and potentially legal,
Mm.
'cause that might be an internal that we need to look at as well. Like, can we give people this information while not getting in trouble, or I don't know.
Hmm.
Even I think potentially land.
Mm.
There's a lot of departments that we could.
How do you envision working with the land department for this?
Just because I think civics as a whole could include our land base
Yeah.
and what it looked like versus what it looks like now.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
69 to now looks very different. So I think that historical context of where the land base was versus what it is now.
Mm. For
And even
sure.
like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the civic stuff has a lot to do with a lot of our departments.
Right.
Like they wouldn't exist if we didn't have, I don't know, we didn't have a
Yeah.
tribal community. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Any
Even
other
like
key actions?
education would be one of those internal partners too, because
Mm.
Kellen was saying the curriculum portion of things, they know how to do all that.
Mm. Hmm.
Internal would be, I think we put it on here, language, the Dakota EAPTP.
Mm. Hmm. So now thinking about all these actions, and if you think of any more, feel free to let us know so we can add, but are there things that are similar that we can group together? It's kind of what the next steps are is we're going to be grouping and these by different kind of tasks, and then folks will take responsibility over the certain tasks. And so what are some that maybe look like duplicates or complement each other?
Are you asking from what we have up here, what kind of complements or duplicate or?
Yep, so what we'll do is we'll kind of move the stickies in groups and trying to group them all together so we can come up with some sort of like umbrella terms for all of them.
I will say Carissa's schedule would kind of be like where we were talking about the logistics, and I think Kellen also added about the menu.
Mm.
Um, also down here where Kellen added if there will be material schedule a meeting with the marketing team. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, all those meet with fall under that scheduling bracket, like meet with archives, meet with the language TP.
I'd say even to the Rebecca needs to be over logistical. I'd say there's like a just logistical group.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's doing kind of like the nuts and bolts of um, making sure the space is set up. And then maybe separate from that, it seems like maybe like developing your content. And so maybe some of the things that you're meeting with folks could go under that one because we just don't want like everything to go under. 'Cause
Yeah.
then what will happen is one person will be responsible for everything.
Yeah. I'd say like logistical developing and then even afterwards, like I don't know.
I
I'm
think
having a brain fart.
I know exactly what you're talking about at the end where,
Like a post meeting or like a follow
Like a
up.
debrief.
yeah.
Yeah, like a debrief. There you go. I can't English today.
Yeah, because you are kind of have two aims here. You're getting ready for your, in August what you're going to have, but then you're also coming together after that to kind of figure out what's next. And so, is there anything that's currently within the kind of logistics column that we could maybe move over to the develop content column?
Maybe the marketing piece, because
Mm,
who's ever developing content would be doing that in conjunction with marketing.
mm-hmm.
I think too that messaging to the community regarding the building of this
Mm,
would be in the provide develop,
mm. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then up there, we kind of brainstorm some of the different departments that you'd have to work with. Um, do some of them make more sense within the different columns? So, like, you'd mentioned like you wanted to run your content by legal. So, like, would legal go under the content?
I would say they would have to be on that. Yeah, I would say the developing, yeah. I would say the developing would be legal, marketing, education, business council, and also the Dakota language. Maybe.
And then where do we see catering, transportation, and land?
I think catering and transportation would go under logistics.
Logistics. Land would be also a provide / develop.
Yeah.
And then I thought I had heard somebody said something about like if we continue to do this, like where space would be. So maybe that could be in the post-workshop debrief.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of my little words after are kind of post-worky, like continue, remember, change, identify.
Yeah.
Honestly, those are a lot of post actions.
Oh, for sure. So, this kind of works out great with the three of you being here. We have kind of these three main, we need someone who's going to be the point for logistics for the August. We need someone who's going to be the point for developing the content. And then we need somebody who's going to be the lead for kind of continuing this initiative on into the future. And so I would really love to see you three, each one kind of volunteer for one, if that makes sense. And so does anyone feel particularly passionate or well suited to do any of these?
I think I could provide / develop the content.
Okay.
I'm the only tribal member on here, and I don't want
Mm.
any of these ladies to get in trouble for access that they probably don't need to some of the documents and whatnot that should be included in here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I could take logistics.
Cool. As a person who already pulled up the menu, I think that makes sense.
Maybe have plans some of these things a time or two.
And that leaves me the post-workshop debrief.
And do you feel good with that, Lisa?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Cool. And so then these are going to be kind of, you'll obviously, if you recruit more folks to help, they can help you on these different things, but it does really feel like these are kind of the three main buckets that you all need to do. And so, yeah, that actually kind of wraps up the action planning for the day. So if you want, we can go ahead and take our final 10-minute health break now, and then we can come back with some recap and next steps for tomorrow. Great. We'll see you in 10.
All right, we'll have everyone come back on. If you can either turn your camera on or throw in a little reaction up or a hi in the chat. I know Lisa will be back at 3. We're gonna pop back in. Oh, there's some sunshine from Michaela. Awesome. We're gonna hop back into the key actions. So we just wanted to go over these one more time after you guys have had a chance to step away and think about if there's anything else that you would like to add into each of the areas. Was there anything else that we feel like should be added to logistics? Are there any other partners that we may need to connect with on logistics? Right now we have catering and transportation, as well as connecting with business council.
One would be marketing for the logistical side of things.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else for logistics? Okay, so moving on to providing and developing content. Are there any other tasks or key actions that we can think about that need to go into providing and developing the content? Okay, and then our list of partners for content are legal, business council, marketing, the Dakota Language TP, education, and land departments. Are there any other partners that we want to connect with?
What about just elders in the community? You know, they're obviously such a source of knowledge. I know they're not a department per se, but I think could be helpful.
Okay. All right, so then thinking about our post-workshop debrief, are there any other tasks or activities or actions that we want to have around the post-workshop debrief? So in this one, we didn't really have any identified internal partners. Are there other folks that you think should be a part of the debrief?
I don't know if they should be a part of it, but they should get wind of it, business council, to see if it actually worked or to see if engagement was a thing.
Yeah, perhaps during this post-workshop debrief, previously I'd mentioned Carissa around just sharing regular updates. And so thinking about maybe how that can fit into when you guys are thinking about the timeline of expanding the project, thinking about when you'd like to provide those updates and to who else. Are there other folks beyond council that you would like to share updates with too, and how you'd want to communicate that?
Just the general council, I think, is the only ones that we need to really give, like, this is coming down the chain type thing.
Yeah.
Just the general council.
Okay. Well, on a more fun note then, we've got like really straightforward team names, but we thought it would be great if maybe we could come up with something a little more exciting than logistics, develop content, and post-workshop debrief. So as you may be engaging other folks to share these tasks with you, is there another fun way you want to think about logistics, or renaming the logistics team of Kellen / others she may recruit?
Yeah, I'm sure my team will probably be helping me with these pieces, so maybe that's something I can bring to them. What they would like to be called.
Okay. All right. What about Carissa for developing and providing content?
I don't know. Let me look in the Dakota dictionary and see what I can possibly come up with. That's a Dakota translation.
Okay. I say there'd be a lot that you could come up with here around kind of leading, storytelling, just talking. And then post-workshop debrief. I know Lisa isn't here. We kind of struggle to get even debrief out. Is there another kind of wrap-up meeting? I know. Do you have like post-event meetings? Perhaps with snacks to lure folks in?
I think we just call them recap meetings. Just because debrief sounds a little legally. It sounds like we got thrown in or something.
All right. Well, great. And I think it's nice that we have the commitments here and your teams can kind of utilize these as you kind of share tasks, like you mentioned, Kellen, and as you work to generate and gather content, Carissa, bringing those commitments back, I think will allow other folks to kind of see the work, the values that are guiding your work, and the space that you want to create, and thinking forward, how you want to build off of that. So we've got really a number of tasks here and not much time until August 9th. So thinking about other folks that you'll want to bring in, do you have some other partners in mind in terms of your own team support? Kellen, you mentioned you have other folks. Carissa, are there other people that you think you could tap into?
I have a good working relationship with all of the internal partners.
Awesome.
Me, myself, it's usually just me doing the nitty-gritty, but I can pull people.
Okay. Well, great. So I think our next step then is looking at the calendar, which that's what we'll get into tomorrow. So now that you've got identified actions and thinking about other folks alongside yourselves that may be able to support in carrying the responsibility out, we'll be able to nail that down tomorrow so that you'll feel prepared and supported on August 9th when you bring your group back together. All right, so with that, we're actually going to move through step 5. So I'll actually be going right into the recap of what we've covered today. And so you all did a lot of work and have an exciting outline of what will be to come next month. So for context, on August 9th, you are going to host a 1-hour lunch and learn for the summer youth work program at the Hochokata Tea Kitchen. The lunch and learn will have a captive audience of summer youth workers who are 13 to 17 years old. Their parents, guardians, other grown-ups could also be in attendance. You really want to ensure that the younger people in the community understand how the community works, why everything is set up the way it is for future planning, and to support your future leaders. So then when we did visualizing success, you all came up with what success would look, feel, and sound like. As presenters, you'll feel relief and gratitude, and the youth participants will feel hopeful about their role and the future of the community and the possibilities available to them. There'll be a yummy pasta bar and salad, and maybe you'll begin the lunch and learn with a smudge, or maybe you'll go outside to ground the time in nature. Oh, 1 second. Hey, Lils. No singing. I've got a coworker here and she's having a great time on her tablet. All right. So through the workshop, your youth will gain a deeper understanding of their identity and feel empowered to make better decisions in their day-to-day lives. So it helps support them in the future. And then the 4 themes that you generated were pride, empowerment, identity, and engaged. So then thinking about the current reality, you reflected on your internal strengths and weaknesses, the dangers of success, and the benefits of success of seeing this project through. As we saw today, you have a strong collaborative team with great ideas and experiences. You have budgetary support and experience working across departments. You did identify some weaknesses around planning, implementation, and follow-through. Hopefully the steps we've taken today and what we'll talk through tomorrow will strengthen this weakness. You also spoke to weakness around community engagement at events. So thinking ahead to the future presentations you'll have, thinking about being mindful of how you want to connect with your community and share your opportunities to learn together. For external dangers, you identified the priority of maintaining confidentiality. So it'd be important to be knowledgeable about your audience so you can share appropriate content, which will also mean being mindful about your future partnerships like those with area schools. And then finally, you identified a number of benefits of the project, including improved attendance and engagement at council meetings, and youth ultimately making better decisions. Around commitment, you committed to the 7 Dakota values, striving for improvement of the project, creating an optimal safe space around safety, speaking, and eating, and honoring your commitments as individuals and as a team. You talked about not losing sight of the intention of the project and grounding the working group in those agreed upon commitments. You could bring these up at each meeting and even at the start of your presentation with the youth to create the space you hope to set with these shared meeting agreements. And then finally, we brainstormed a lot of key actions, and you created your 3 task areas that will have cooler names than what we came up today with around logistics, developing content, and the post-workshop recap. You each agreed to take a lead on these task groups and outline the internal partners you'd like to work with and will need to support the project. So congratulations on accomplishing so much today. Oh, I should pause. Michaela, you're back. Your camera's working again. Was there anything else you wanted to add on our key actions or all of the work that we recapped today?
No, I think looking forward to tomorrow. Like Michelle said, we'll really be nailing things down on the calendar. We do have a place for your fun team names, so if that's something you can think about tonight and come back with a exciting, creative, fun name, that'd be great. But yeah, that's all.
So, well, we know this process is exciting, but we're also mindful that it can be a little draining, especially on kind of a shorter holiday week, Thursday, Friday afternoon. So in preparation for day 2 tomorrow, we encourage you to take care of yourselves tonight, get some fresh air if the air is feeling clear and clean for you all, and relax tonight. And hopefully take some time to think about what you may still have questions about for your project, or if other key actions come up that you think may still need to be accomplished or assigned. We've done really great work today, and tomorrow we'll follow this same process to complete steps 5 through 8. So now that we've set the foundation and created a vision of what the project can look like and what the commitments are to reach that vision, we can turn our focus more towards those details, logistics, and calendar items. So we'll clarify and assign tasks, align interests, resources, divide roles and responsibilities, and really solidify that timeline so that you feel excited and ready for August 9th. So with that, we have a survey.
So, as always, we like to get your feedback, especially as we said, this is the first time we've done this action planning session. And so it's really important to us to hear from you all anonymously how it went, if there's anything we could improve. And so we're going to give you the next 5 minutes to complete the survey. We do have one more activity after the survey, so don't leave. And yeah, we'll just give you some time to do that. The link is in the chat.
It's gotta be a crime somewhere in your heart you'll find we're fighting for our right to keep the future bright and protect the ones we love. In the river is our sisters and our brothers. We are camping out for each other. We are stronger when we band together, and we're standing up for the water. Don't poison the future away. You've gotta have a soul. Mother Earth protects us all. If you treat her with disrespect, then what message have you left for your children and their home? In the river is our sisters and our brothers. We are camping out for each other. We are stronger when we band together, and we're standing up for the water. Don't poison the future away. Can you take and take
Alrighty, I think we've got everybody.
Hi,
Hey
I'm back.
Lisa, if you just wanted to follow the link
All
in the
right, what are
chat,
we doing?
we're working on the survey right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you just follow that link, Michelle just posted it in the chat, and you could just take a couple minutes to fill that out. We'll move on, so you can just do that kind of after we're done here. We've got just one more activity. So moving forward, we just wanted to kind of gauge your all's thoughts and reflect on today. So we're going to go around and I'm going to ask everyone to share one word that describes how you're feeling leaving today's session. Also, a opportunity to ask any questions you still have, and then would love to hear what you hope we cover at the next action planning session tomorrow. So is there any volunteers to go first? I will volunteer. Kellen, would you like to go first?
Um, Word that describes how I'm feeling today, I think hopeful. I'm always excited when we try new initiatives and hopeful that they go well. I don't think I have any questions right now. What I hope to cover at the next action planning session, I think that we're feeling really confident about what August 9th looks like, but I think my questions for me is what happens after our initial pilot date. So maybe diving into that a little bit deeper, I'd love to do tomorrow.
Okay, great. Carissa?
I'm feeling tired today, so hopefully I'm more energetic tomorrow. But in regards to the session, I'd say I'd feel the same with Kellen, like hopeful and relieved we got a lot of the August 9th situation handled. But yeah, I just think the questions moving forward, like how do we do this? Like it's a
For
lot.
sure.
And like for how many groups that we could possibly do this for, I think that really needs to be looked into, or how do we do all that? Which we might not have an answer tomorrow, and that's okay. I hope we cover that moving forward, like kind of what the plan is. Because I think with our group, we need help in that moving forward, like keeping this thing going and changing it and whatnot. Yeah,
Wonderful.
I'm tired today.
So that's a good sign you used your brain through this. So that's a good result. And then Lisa? I know she just turned her. Oh, there you are.
Yep. Sorry, I think I missed the question because I was still talking to my team here. Um, so what's this?
So we're asking folks just to share one word that describes how you're feeling after today, and then ask any questions that you might have. And then the last question is, what do you hope to cover at the next action planning session tomorrow?
Today I'm feeling hopeful today. I like to see everything kind of planned out, or at least trying to figure out who's going to be doing what.
Mhm.
So today was helpful. Um, I'm not sure what I'm looking for tomorrow, you know, um, but I kind of see it all working now. So
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, that is officially all we have planned for you today. Before we close, are there any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
I just put in the chat, I was looking over the language database that we have here. And I don't know if that's could be something that is a thing, but this is what I just found looking through it. I think it matches. I don't know.
Yeah, you're thinking that's what you want your team name to be?
I don't know.
Cool. Well, we'll make a note of it so we
Up
don't
for
lose it in the
discussion.
chat. Awesome. Do you know how to say that?
I know the Oyate part,
Yeah,
but
I
I
knew
will
that
have
part.
to confirm with the language TP on how to say this other section.
Say I could Lakota-ize it, but uh,
I'll confirm with them if that's even a thing still. So we'll see.
sounds good. Anything else? All right, well, we're ending a little bit early, but that's expected with a smaller group. So we also might not take the full time tomorrow. So we'll see, but we'll see you bright-eyed tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So we've got a really great day for you. Part 2, we're going to kind of finish up some things that we left to determine from yesterday, and be able to send you off and ready to do your project. So we'll dive right in with an overview from Michelle. You're muted now.
Clicked my button too fast. All right. Well, again, welcome back, everyone. We're really excited by all the great work you accomplished yesterday, and how helpful and prepared you feel for August 9th. We hope that after today's session, that feeling continues, that we've been able to address any further questions you may have. Again, you received a copy of this agenda in your email on Wednesday, so hopefully there aren't too many surprises here, but just in case, I'll review the plan for the day. So after our opening activities, we'll dive right back into action planning. We'll revisit the key actions you identified yesterday, and see if there's anything else that needs to be added. Then we'll begin to map those actions onto your calendar. So you identified a number of external partners you'd like to connect with. So of course, we want to be mindful too of scheduling time for all of that communication and organization that you'll be doing. We'll take our first health break around 2:15 and then dive into the last steps of the action planning process, coordination, and resolving. We'll take our second health break around 3:05, being mindful again, kind of yesterday, how you all worked with us to adjust the schedule accordingly based on what we've accomplished. So this is our tentative plan, but if we move a little faster, that's okay. But we'll come back after that health break and recap the work that's been accomplished and what your team is committed to over the past 2 days. Then we'll talk about next steps and wrap up as always with our survey and closing remarks. Are there any questions about today's agenda? Okay, wonderful. All right, well, looking at our process overview again. So yesterday you completed steps 1 through 5. We set the context, envisioned the future, reflected on your team's current reality, identified your commitments, outlined key actions, and then created your action teams. So today we're going to work through steps 6 through 8 of the action planning process. The calendar segment will organize your specific actions needed for success in each of your particular areas. And this will help you, again, have that feeling of doability and making sure that all of the tasks that need to be accomplished before next month are taken care of in the timeline needed. In step 7, we'll coordinate your major aspects of the project and refine kind of the sequence, integration, and making sure that everything that you've set out to do feels realistic. And then thinking about the follow through and any potential problems that may come up. And finally, we'll end with the resolve segment that will confirm the consensus and decisions that you've made over the past 2 days, and then initiate and plan for that follow-up that we talked about that's so important. And of course, we'll also celebrate the completion of your successful action planning. So at the end of the day, you should have a clear plan with tasks and activities that are needed to develop and implement your Tribal Civics project. And this plan will, again, help you make sure your roles and responsibilities are clear, and that you have a good understanding of the dates and deadlines in which you want to accomplish things. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it back to Michaela for our kinship building.
All right, so today's kinship building activity, we're going to do a little bit of group storytelling. So you'll see there are 4 pictures down there at the bottom, and I want you all to kind of think about these photos and how they might connect in a story. And so we'll give everyone maybe just like 30 seconds here to kind of think about that. And as a group, we'll tell the story. So everyone will share one line of the story. And at the end, we'll read it back and hear what we came up with. So any questions about the activity? Okay, well, I'll give you 30 seconds of reflection time starting now. All right, that is 30 seconds. Is there any volunteers to start us off?
I'll start.
Go for it.
You just want like the beginning of my story, basically. What?
Yeah, just like a line or two of the story.
There once was a very tired and grumpy puppy.
All right. And Carissa, would you like to take the next line?
His name, or this one? This,
Uh,
it's Joe, right?
well, yeah, that is Joe. But it can be any of the photos can
Okay.
inspire you.
I think I'll stick with the first one. His name was Doug, and he had a blanket much like Carissa's.
All right, and Lisa?
And Doug and Carissa all sat around the fire because it was cold outside with their
Yeah.
blankets.
And while they were sitting around the fire, a funny spirit appeared to them. Michelle, would you like to do the next line?
There we go.
Oh,
He laughed at them in their blankets.
and Kellen?
Doug and Carissa were saddened by this because they love their blankets dearly.
And we'll go back to Carissa.
Joe thought this was hilarious because he does not take pride in such blankets. Or value instead of pride, value in such.
And Lisa, would you like to end our story?
And Carissa and Doug kept their blankets on because they could care less that Joe was laughing.
All right, so just to overview our story here, there once was a very tired and grumpy puppy. His name was Doug, and he had a blanket much like Carissa's. Doug and Carissa all sat around the fire because it was cold outside with their blankets. And while they were sitting around the fire, a funny spirit appeared to them. He laughed at them in their blanket. Doug and Carissa were saddened by this because they loved their blankets dearly. Joe thought this was hilarious because he does not value blankets. And Carissa and Doug kept their blankets on because they could care less that Joe was laughing. Quality story there. Yeah, I looked really hard to find like laughing photos, and they were all like white people. So I was trying to find some native folks, and it ended up being Joe. So it's a little extra special that you guys know that's Joe. He does not know that his photo is on this, so we'll warn him. All right, well, with that, we will jump right into our action planning. So we'll post the Jamboard in the chat here. We are going to have, with the calendar aspect of this, have you all get into the Jamboard yourself. And so if you just want to pull that up, but again, we'll share our screens here so you can follow that way too. So these are our key actions and kind of the task teams that you all determined yesterday. And so, hopefully, between the last time we've met, you've had a chance to kind of think about your role in your team and the things that need to be done. And so, the first thing I'd like to do is just have each kind of task leader read off the different key actions in their group. And then, once we get through that, we'll maybe clarify some things, add some things, just make sure this feels real final. So since it's first on the list, we'll have Kellen go first to read through the logistics.
Confirm with internal partners their availability, make sure they are available and accessible, make sure the menu is ready and that partners have been contacted, confirm regarding logistics, location, etc. to make sure that everyone who is participating will be comfortable. Rebecca will be the person to present. This needs to be confirmed and thought through for future sessions. Meet with the language TP to come up with a name, call it something in Dakota other than civics. And then also keeping in mind partners like marketing, catering, and transportation.
Perfect. And then next we'll have Carissa with the content.
So my task is to establish values at the beginning of the course with the students who are taking it, especially honesty and vulnerability. Have feedback surveys at the end to think about improvement. If there will be materials, schedule a meeting with marketing team to create what is needed, create an agenda, meet with archives to get documents that may be needed for the project, messaging to the community regarding the project to build excitement. Internal partners that I have to work with is legal, marketing, education, elders within the community, land, Dakota language, TP, and then business council.
Perfect. And then Lisa.
Mine, can you hear me? Okay. Create a timeline of how we will expand the project and continue to honor this commitment. Space, location, ownership, set time to review feedback as a team. Rebecca will be the person to present this, needs to be confirmed and thought through for future sessions. Business council, share an update. Then we have remember, allow, continue, lead, believe, change, and identify.
Wonderful. And so going back to the beginning with logistics, Kellen, or really anyone else on the team, is there anything that's missing from this list or maybe things that don't make sense in this list? We'll start with Kellen. Do you have any ideas?
I don't see anything right now that I think is missing. I don't know if the team sees anything.
What about you, Chris or Lisa? See anything?
I don't.
Sounds good. So then we'll move over to Carissa with your content. Same question. Any adjustments you'd like to make?
I think it encompasses a lot more, but I don't know what that could possibly, like where a sticky could be added, I guess, because it's a lot, but I don't think it's missing anything. I just think it encompasses a whole lot,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. What about other team members? Any other additions to the content or subtractions?
I don't know if this is a content, but as I just was looking at your list, do you think that the message to the community is more logistics, like getting people there, than maybe something that is on your plate with the content development?
I think it could be both because I can bring that up in general council meetings.
Yeah.
So it could be both for sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But getting it on the website and all that stuff, it
Yeah.
should be
That's more,
logistically.
that's what I was saying. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the IC messaging, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Like the Facebook posts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd definitely be you then.
What about you, Lisa? Any additions or changes?
No.
And then same question for you, Lisa, with your recap. Any additions, changes,
Um,
questions?
No. Mm-mm.
What about the rest of the team? So I had a question kind of going through these. And so, Lisa, the kind of team that you're leading can kind of be interpreted two ways. And so it could either mean that you are recap leader, meaning you're just scheduling the debrief meeting and kind of facilitating that. But it could also mean that you're kind of the lead for carrying this forward, thinking about what this program looks like in a bigger way. That's not to say that you would be the one making all those decisions. It'd be more that you are the one that's kind of organizing the process to make those decisions. And so I was just curious if we could clarify kind of what we meant by recap. Did you have thoughts, Lisa?
Um, no, because I think the last part of the meeting I had to step away, but I think it was just more of a debrief. When I left, we were really looking at it being a debrief.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, can I just go back? So
Yeah.
as you were talking, I was thinking we need someone to be a recorder or scribe throughout the process, who's going to be, because we're going to have someone who's going to be facilitating throughout, but for someone who's actually going to be recording step by step by step, and even the day of, just like how you all are doing this here, I think that we need someone who's going to be doing that for us
Mhm.
as well. Um, and I guess that's really like the recap leader. Maybe it can be me, that person, because, you know, um, I don't know.
Yeah, so like what I'm hearing you say is maybe it makes sense to have you just kind of like paying attention to the whole process, thinking about how things worked, what things maybe didn't work, what things you could improve if you want to extend it. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
How do other team members feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like that. And then, obviously you'll have your debrief meeting. But if I could suggest like a key takeaway from that debrief meeting, I think would be to just really either confirm or define roles for this moving forward. I know we've kind of defined roles here for this pilot, but what I heard you all talk about yesterday, especially at the end, about things you're kind of concerned about, or how does this initiative live past this kind of pilot, excuse me, presentation that you all are doing. And so, since everyone shared that that was something they're concerned, I think it makes sense to have, Lisa as the recap leader, just really be thinking about that the whole time and really able to hold the team accountable to doing that after the event's over.
Okay.
Cool.
Makes sense.
Sweet. And then the only other question I had, and this kind of popped up on everybody's, is Rebecca being the facilitator. And so I'm curious, like, does Rebecca have a presentation like already planned that she's like normally does? Or is this something that like Kellen, or not Kellen, Carissa, you're helping develop content for, or what does that look like?
So I know she already has a presentation. She couldn't share it for whatever reason. But I know there's ones that already exist in our community around civics, but I know she started a different one that was more kid friendly last year that she did, which was more interactive. But yeah, there's one that exists, but I know it will have to be modified.
Okay. And so for this first one, is it that you all are inviting Rebecca into your lunch and learn to speak?
Yep.
And then that's the civics presentation
Yep.
right there?
Yep.
And so
And
then you'll like,
it's only an hour, so she doesn't have that much time and whatever, but yeah, last year was really good. She noted changes that she needs to make, but with the one that lives here already, I know it came from Bill and we can modify it as we need to.
Cool. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Just thinking about like Chris with you as the content lead, like what does that look like in working with Rebecca? But then also like you all said like moving forward, like is it always going to be Rebecca that's giving this presentation? How to modify it? And so can see those are things that Lisa as the recap leader can kind of be thinking about, but then Chris also like as the content leader thinking about that stuff too. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did talk to Rebecca too, and in talking with her, I think it was about a week ago. So she's not running for our business council seat this next term that's coming up at the end of the fall or the winter. But she would be interested in doing this as a full-time thing. I don't think full-time, just kidding. I don't want to say that. But she did have interest into giving this presentation to whoever needs it whenever they need it.
Very cool. Yeah, that'll be really great, especially thinking about moving this project forward beyond the pilot, like having someone like her that could maybe like be that coordinator, would be really great, or at least that main presenter. Cool. Well, now that we're kind of on the same page with key actions, we wanted to give you all some calendar time. So this is where we'll have you all get into the Jamboard. So you'll see we kind of assigned each slide to each person, so everyone has their own slide. So this is where you can reveal your very cool team name that you, I know, spent all night really thinking about coming up with. But really wanted to give you the opportunity to look at those key actions, think about what those tasks are, and when do those things need to get done. So you'll notice we have July, August, and September, knowing that September might be when you're kind of thinking about how to move this work forward. So we'll give you all about 10 minutes to get in. So just to explain the columns, the team name, you don't have to rewrite it every time. You can just do the first one. If you want to like chunk your tasks by different like names, you can do it that way, whatever makes sense to you. So the launch means like what is the first task that you need to do to like get this kind of task rolling, and then kind of planning out what are you going to do in July, what are you going to do in August. The orange is for success, so like meaning what's evidence that this particular task has been done completely. And then the resources are any thing that you might need. Of course, resources mean money, but they can also be supplies, content, information, just kind of what do you need to complete those tasks. So like I said, it's up to you how you want to organize it. If you want to do one task per row, if you want to chunk it up, um, just kind of leave that to you all. So any questions about what we're asking you to do?
Are we looking more for the August date? Or are we kind of thinking for the beyond?
So what you're doing is we're breaking it up, like you'll just do the tasks for kind of your task team. So you're just doing logistics, and I believe your logistics are just for the August session. Is
Okay,
that
sounds good.
what everyone else understood too? Okay, yeah. Any other questions about the activity? Any issues getting into Jamboard? I see 3 anonymous animals, so it looks like you're all in there. Okay. Well, we'll give you 5 to 10 minutes. At 5 minutes, I'll check in to see if folks need more time or any guidance. So we'll play some music and see you in 5.
Gina, oh, Vakadi, Mo Mais, Komet, Awachken, Ope, Yakatlis, Holwen.
Two beloved women sang this song on the Trail of Tears. One stood near the front of the people and one near the back. When either faltered, the other would sing this song to hold them up. Do not get tired. Don't be discouraged. Be determined to all come in. We will go to the highest place. We will go together. Chihoto Chazari Chino Lakari Momais Komet Awachkan Ho 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 pe Yakatlis Holwen.
Okay, folks, that's been 5 minutes. Do folks want some more time?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, we'll give you another 5 minutes.
From the eagles traveling the waterways of our ancestors' rivers of time.
cypress, cedar, and pine, painted paddles in our hands, pouring through this sacred land, water, song, spirit, and rhythm align. Blessings as we look to our Father Sky, seeing the eagle lift our oars up high. In Thanksgiving protocol, we ask permission to dip way down. The mother's lifeblood will flow through her sacred ground. My people, my land. My people, my land. This is the way that life was given, the way we were made to stand. My people, my land. My people, my land. Honor all creations, reverence for this way of life. Greetings as we feel the sun's warmth, sparkling diamonds, waves splash abundant light, sacred light and sound, copper, wampum, and pearls, gather precious treasures of our world, trade splendor, design, and together we thrive. My people, my land. My people, my land. This is the way that life was given, the way we were made to stand. My people, my land. My people, my land. Honor all creation, reverence for this way of life.
All right, checking in again. Do folks still want some more time or have any questions?
I have a question about the success. What is
Yeah.
that column?
So the success is like what is in like how do you know that that's done? Or like what does success look like for that particular
Oh, okay,
task?
okay.
So did folks want a little more time to keep working? We c-
I think so.
yeah, so I think silence means folks are working. So maybe we'll do another 5 minutes and then we'll share out.
I have a question about like the whole development thing. If it's developed, then it's done, right? Like I don't have to redo it.
What do you mean?
Can you go to my my
Yep,
section? Yes.
a minute.
Okay, so there's that. I guess like once it's developed and it's given
Hmm.
for this one specifically, I won't have to do anything on this August, right?
Yeah, other than like deploy it, you're talking about like the feedback.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so like for example, you'd say like I'll give the survey in August and
Hmm.
like maybe review the
Okay.
results.
Okay.
I've been thinking about the news. Daddy leaves it on all day through. I've been thinking about the wars. And to be honest, I can't take it anymore. I hear you every day. The awful words you say. But hate can't be the face of the American dream. I've been thinking about my life and how one day I want to be a mother and a wife. I've been scared of that thought too. In a world of struggle, what are we gonna do? I hear you every day saying it's gonna be okay. But hate can't be the face of the American dream. change the choice, and it can start with me. And I've been thinking about our mother and how they took her away from her people, put her in a boarding school, away from her brother, sister, and culture. I can hear her every night saying we've gotta make this right, 'cause hate can't be the face of the American
Alrighty, we are at time. And you have access to these Jamboards. We won't close them down. So if you want to keep building them after this workshop, you can. Or if you just want to take this into a different format, it's totally up to you. But we did want to just have everyone kind of share out their tasks and their timeline. So my apologies, Kellen, to keep making you go first as kind of the first on the slides, but we'll have you go first and reveal your team name.
Sure. So I figured I'd tap into my team in the education department for this. So I decided, Kala, so one of our staff members has a little dog who weighs about 5 pounds named Millie, who comes and visits us every Friday. And we all say that we're all her moms. She has 4 moms. So I thought Millie's moms would be appropriate. And then there's Millie right there.
Oh, thank you for the gift of that photo. That's
Right.
very
She's
cute.
pretty cute. So the great thing is about kind of my calendar is I've already had to dive into these logistics for Lunch and Learn. So a lot of this is already done. And so I just put a lot of the dates in July and noted that they were completed. So as far as our internal partners go, especially for the state, is confirming the space within the Hochikata Tea. And also, we have somebody on staff who is working with our students as far as the food portion goes. So she's created the menu. She is going to do the teaching part for when the students create the meal. Her name is Carla. So all of that has been confirmed and booked. I know I shared yesterday that we're doing a pasta bar with salad that day. Believe the kiddos are making the salad dressing that day. So all of those ingredients are confirmed with the farm and everything along those lines. Presenter wise, for all our lunch and learns, including this one that I've sent calendar invites with accepted confirmations. Rebecca was sent an invite for the Civics Day and she's confirmed, so she's good to go for that day. Language Cheapy, I thought it might be a good time to dive into that one after we've completed the pilot and maybe also get student feedback for that. I put that date tentatively for August 21st because I know as we near the end of Lunch and Learn, with Cheapy is also right that weekend around the corner. So it's probably something more for the TP to dive into after that's over. And then messaging out to the community. So I put 2 dates for that. Typically, I remind students the week before what's coming up next. So we'll remind them at the August 2nd Lunch and Learn. And then the Monday prior to, I also try to send out a message reminding that Lunch and Learn's coming up on Wednesday, and that will be on August 7th. And then as far as the rest of the presentations are concerned, all of that would be to be announced.
Perfect. Thank you, Kellen. Carissa, would you like to walk us through your slide and timeline?
Yeah, so mine is pretty soon. I go on some vacation and then I have Wewin that I'm going to and then Wachipi. So I just kind of am diving in there head first. So establishing the values and having the feedback surveys, those shouldn't be too hard to do. So development with those on July 11th and the 12th. And then August 9th would be the feedback survey collection because that's after the lunch and learn. And then based on the feedback surveys, modifying the values if necessary. I don't think that there would be modification that would need to happen for that, but I just put it on there just in case. The materials part is the hard one that I have to deal with, and then the archives too. Getting in there and requesting documents would be the most challenging and the most time consuming for myself. But a lot of these materials already exist in marketing, so I feel like could kill two birds with one stone with that. July 12th would be my first meeting with them, and then July 18th. That will have to change because I'm out of town. That is gonna have to change. Sorry, I have a lot going on. I'll schedule a meeting with that second one just to make sure we're on the same page with marketing of what we need and what they need to accomplish and the takeaways that we might need. I don't think we may need any takeaways for this, but if they're necessary, we can have them. And then August 9th would be our lunch and learn day. So I would need all of my materials before that. And then obviously the PowerPoint with the interactives ready and available before that day. And then based on the feedback survey in September, just modifying the presentation if necessary. Creating an agenda, and I know Rebecca does go out of town in July after the council meeting. So I want to get in front of her before then, just to make sure that she is confirmed to do all this, and that if she does need help modifying her existing presentation, I can do that at the general council meeting. And then I know they meet Wednesdays if we have a quorum. So they'll be here at the Hochikata Tea, so I can get in front of her on the 12th as well. And then I didn't really change anything for August. It would be presenting the agenda. And then obviously Becca would have to be here. And then the next one is just messaging to the community. July 11th, I could bring it up in the general council meetings, just as a reminder to lunch and learn participants or summer youth work program participants that this is coming up. It would be their parents, so I would invite them to attend if they wanted to. Kellen, maybe if you want to order more food or have a plan B if we run out for that August 9th, just in case if people come. I don't know. They might not. But yeah, I think that rounds it out a little bit. If
Yeah,
that makes
perfect.
sense.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
You're already even doing some of the next step too, so good work, team. And then Lisa, would you like to walk us through your timeline and tasks?
Yeah, so when I was looking through, because I was watching what they were putting in, I just think that as we get closer, mine is going to be more set on after that first initial meeting with everyone so that we can at least make sure that they're aware that this is going to be happening. So my dates are going to be dependent on when we actually complete everything, but in the middle of that process, planning for it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Great. Well, so then that's kind of the calendar step. Did anybody have any questions for any of your team members about their timelines?
I thought everything looked good. I thought what Clarissa and Kellen put out there, I think it's actually very doable as well. So
Yay. Anything else? Cool. We're a little ahead of schedule, which is just fine. But we'll go ahead and take our 5-minute health break. And so if you could come back, we'll actually give you an 8 minutes, just so it's an even 2 o'clock. So if you could get back at 2 o'clock, we'll get started with the rest of the process. All right, so if folks could either turn on their screens or give me a little emoji reaction so I know you're here. All right, there we are. All right, so we are going to get started on our almost last step, which is coordination. So now we're just going to kind of look back at all of the wonderful plans we've made and make sure that we have really thought through everything. If there's any adjustments, now's the time to make it. So kind of going through the calendar, we kind of already answered this question, but I'll just ask it again. Thinking about the calendar, is there anything that needs to be adjusted or changed? Hearing none, you all did a perfect job. And then the next question is, do our successes reflect our commitments? And so thinking back to the commitment statements that we had, which are honoring the 7 Dakota values, strive for improvement of the project, creating optimal space, safety, speaking, and eating, and then honoring your commitments, individual and team. Does that reflect your values? Which are the pride, empowerment, identity, and engaged. Feel like there's alignment there. Sweet. And I know we had talked about, you guys weren't super concerned about a budget since this is kind of a part of your initial or your lunch and learn program. Do folks still feel that way? Are there any changes you want to make?
I think just noting if we are building this out to be bigger, what the potential for the budget, because it's budget season right now. I was just in a budget meeting.
I was just gonna say too,
Yeah. So I think we need to meet with a finance person and see where this will fit in within the budget for next year.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even with the budget, like which department does the budget live within
Yeah,
is also a big question too.
right. Whose line item is this?
Yes.
And so between your 3 task teams, is there anyone that feels like they want to take kind of the lead on that conversation with the finance team?
Krista, do you think this is something maybe we could
In
put on the agenda
education?
for, like ed committee meeting even?
Yeah.
Of
I
putting
could see it, I could see it living in the education department.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean you guys have to own it, but I think if we put it under that line item, we can get it flushed out.
Yeah, and I can ask Kristen if she can add that to the agenda for Monday. So we
Yeah.
can chat about that a little more.
Oh, perfect. Great. And then, so will you all have an overall coordinator?
And I think that was possibly what I was asking when I was talking about having like a recorder, someone who was going to be there from the first step to the last.
I think it could be Rebecca's really busy right now, but I see as her role could possibly change, she could be the overall coordinator. I could do it now and then it could move over to her when she's ready. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think that
Yeah.
makes sense.
How do you feel about that, Lisa?
I think that's a good idea.
Mhm. Great. Well, Krissa, you now are officially the coordinator. I know we kind of loosely dubbed you as that for at the last workshop, but if I could bestow a crown onto you, I would right now. So, um, and then how do you want to coordinate activities? Do you all have like a certain way that you usually organize your projects, or what does that look like?
so being that we're all in different departments in different areas within the tribe, it's usually done by email and looking at people's schedules and stuff like that.
Can
So
can I make a suggestion? I know so I oversee both FCS and education. And in my FCS department, one of the things that we've been talking about is using OneNote could be valuable because it's shared and you can provide access to anyone so that they can also view but's being entered into the OneNote. So that can be something, Carissa, that you could possibly consider
Mhm,
using as OneNote. It has lots of tabs. It's just like a, electronic file folder,
mhm.
basically. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking into that and then Outlook for sure. Like our Outlook is pretty much our go-to here at the T. It may be different for different departments, but that's usually how I can see if people are doing anything or not on the Outlook.
Yeah, at NGC we use Google Drive for everything. And that's kind of similar concept of the OneNote. And that is really helpful. Like Michelle and I can kind of co-create documents without having to set up a bunch of meetings to do it. 'Cause I know sometimes work can get stalled if we're waiting for a meeting to be scheduled. Right. Any other ideas or notes on coordination? Great. And then I would really love too if you guys wanted to pull out your calendars now to maybe figure out when you want to meet again. Since you all are coming up pretty quick on the August 9th, is there a time here soon that you all could meet again?
what I can tell you is that I'm not available the 17th and 18th of July, and also the 24th or 25th.
I am also not available the 25th.
I
But
think if we
most of
did it, because is everyone going to that strat planning thing?
Yes.
Could we just meet before or after that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Because I
So,
think especially mostly everything's set to go for
right.
the August 9th date. It's just kind of touching base quickly. So I think
Yeah.
that'd be possible.
So July 20th or the 21st?
Yeah.
So is there a certain time that day?
It would have to be probably at like 9:30 before the planning thing or after 4:30.
Yeah, do we want to get it done right away? Because I have a feeling by the end, we're all going to be exhausted.
That
Yeah,
would
I
be
probably prefer the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so sounds like maybe 9:30. Is there a preference between the 20th or the 21st?
I'd say maybe the 20th just to get it out of the way because there's going to be a lot going on with strat planning. So it doesn't get lost.
That is a heavy lift for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, the 20th work for you, Lisa and Carissa?
Yeah, that'll work.
Perfect. And then do you guys usually meet virtually or in person, or where do you want to meet?
This one will be in person.
Oh, great.
So in person at the link, just so there's all the details for the other people who may want to attend.
Great. Cool. So that'll be on your calendars. And then kind of the last step of this coordination step is we just want to go around the room and kind of list what everyone's like most immediate next step is. So Carissa, would you want to go first and share what it is you're gonna do and when you want to do it?
Yeah, my dire thing that I need to get done is the materials meeting with marketing and the meeting with archives.
Okay.
Just to figure out because they already have the stuff that's approved by legal and stuff, so I could kind of loop around them because it's already
Yeah,
approved. I don't
for
need to
sure.
like do anything extra to get those materials, but yeah, just meeting with those things.
Yeah, that's great. And then when would you like to have that at least scheduled by?
I did message the marketing guy that I work with. And I'm hoping July 12th we could meet because I go out of town.
Okay. And Kellen, what about you? What's your most immediate next step?
Actually, I have a question for Carissa with this too. For our pilot, if we're announcing at the general council meeting, are we kind of letting that lunch and learn date be open to community members in general?
I mean, I think any of our programming is always open to community members in general. So I don't see anyone attending specifically for that, but I could see people interested in like what this whole civics course is. So potentially, I
Yeah,
don't
because I was wondering if that was something where we might want to expand our scope besides me just confirming with students that are involved. Like, do we want something from marketing posted about this date specifically?
No,
Okay, so
because I
then
don't want it. I don't
Yeah.
want it open to just people that are walking in.
Yeah, that would be my concern as well
Yeah.
too. That's why I was
Yeah.
asking that.
No,
I'm
no,
like,
if
do we
people
want it more open? Yeah.
No, if people are interested, I'll tell them like the spiel that I usually give is like, hey, if you're interested in these things, contact me and I'll give you more information.
Yeah.
But other than that, it will be most likely just students.
Okay. Sounds great. So I think my next actionable step will be, of course, making sure students know where they need to be when. So making sure that we're confirming at the beginning of August the dates, which I would do both in person and via email.
Great. And you hope to get that done by the beginning of August, you said?
Yes.
And Lisa, what about you? What's your most immediate next step and when do you want to have it done?
Probably checking in, oh my goodness, I'm looking at this. Um, I think one is to follow up with Rebecca, um, to make sure that we're all on the same page regarding the debrief and recap and how she may want it kind of laid out as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And when would you like to have that done by?
I'll probably try and have that discussion with her next week,
Okay.
probably on Monday.
Great. So
Oh,
now that we, oh,
thank you.
so as kind of a bonus, since we're a little ahead of time, we are going to give you the next 10 minutes to make progress on one of the tasks. So maybe the one that you outlined here, if you need to, schedule meetings with someone, maybe draft up that email. Like Kellen, I know you didn't want to reach out to the beginning of August, but maybe now you just draft that email so it's ready to just hit send in August. So we'll go ahead and give you 10 minutes to just go get a task done so that way we can feel excited and accomplished that we've gotten some momentum started. So any questions? Cool. So 10 minutes and we'll see you at 2:25.
I am resilient. I trust the movement. I negate the chaos. Uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. 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 These times are poignant. The winds have shifted. It's all we can do to stay uplifted. Pipelines through backyards, wolves howling out fronts. Yeah, I got my crew, but truth is what I want. Realigned and on point. gonna do about it when the world comes undone? My voice feels tiny, and I'm sure so does yours. Put us all together, make a mighty trust the movement. I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen.
Hey yo, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey yo, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey yo, hey, yo, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey yo, remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh. Hello, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey-oh, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey-oh, hey-oh, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh. Hey-oh, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey-oh, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey-oh, hey-oh, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey-oh, hey-oh. Remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh. Hey-oh, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, oh, hey-oh, hey, hey, baby, I'm with it, so high, feeling free. Remember me down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Away, yo.
Kick back in my time machine, reminiscing everything was so promising. Siblings let me win so I would feel like I was king. Caught the piston, ran it in, then I was high as he. Who's kneel down when I'm proud about the sky to me. Like God the grid, I am about my highest being. Fell in love with the sport when I was high as knees. Then I learned to gym up and I knew I could beast. Blow up and get the paper like them shocker peas. Go up to snake the ball on ya like mice and flee. Show up, I'll be shown up because I've got a piece. That was the gym throw perfect of my philosophy. But somewhere down the line I must have lost the beat. Started going for my feast like I forgot my teeth. Jim Thorpe isn't in the public conscious P. All I'd ever see was black and white on colored screens. All I hear about is cheese, but they're all long deceased. Man, I wish I could have seen you play ball on TV. I wish that you received the same notoriety the mass media has given all these other athletes. I just needed someone great who looked like me. Jim Thorpe, you could be my Muhammad Ali. Afflicted with addiction, alcoholic like Pete. No submitting, both spitting up in college like G's. My focus not there, we probably both got B's. You're the star RB, I'd skip the smoke trees. When I finally got sober, I became an MC. Messing up on stage cause I care what people think. I needed your influence, I don't care what people think. See, for me to feel great, man,
Alrighty, we'll call you back. Hopefully you were able to get a task done, or at least get work towards a task done. That always feels good to have something accomplished. So now we're going to go into the last step of our action planning before we do some reflections for the day. So this is really just to celebrate and kind of acknowledge all the work that you've done. Look back and think about things you're excited about, things you're still concerned about. So the first thing I want us to do is just to celebrate. So if everybody could come off mute, maybe give yourself a round of applause, celebrate, cheer, let out a lily, whatever feels good. So if we could unmute now and celebrate.
Yay.
Well, I know it feels awkward doing that on Zoom, but it is important. The other thing I wanted to do was if we could all just take a little Zoom picture. So I'll take a screenshot just to really commemorate this day and all this great work you've done. So on the count of three, 1, 2, 3, cheese. All right, we'll send that all out so you can remember this day in perpetuity. I know a really big day for you all. So what we're gonna do now is really just go around and just ask everyone to share one positive takeaway, something you're excited about for this initiative, something you hope it will achieve in your community. So Lisa, would you want to go first?
Um, I'm really happy about the collaboration. One with those who are in this meeting, but those who were participating earlier. I had a meeting with Bill earlier this morning, and I told him, I said I felt really good about the work that we did yesterday because we really defined roles and expectations, and I work better that way. So, I found yesterday to be very, very helpful. But again, as I stated before, one of the things, I'm not from this community, but I know that Carissa has stated this before, that, when she's talked to some of the younger community members, that she's really, reminding them that one of them, most of them in the room, could be leaders in the community. So I think it's important to, you know, um, help really just to guide them and give them as much information as possible so that they can be the best community members that they can be.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, I think everyone works better with defined roles and scope. And so that's really the hope of this workshop. So I'm glad that that's kind of how you're left feeling. Kellen, would you like to go next? Just
Sure.
a highlight.
Um, I definitely would say that defining roles was an important piece, but I even think with that, it gives it so much a structure that is also kind of creating buzz about this topic that's exciting. Um, David was here earlier today, Chris's brother, and we were discussing that and kind of got into more that foreseeable future of talking about, what could this look like? Something that's been asked a lot is like a course for the youth that they could get school credit for, and just really being able to talk about that in much more realistic parameters is really exciting. And I think, it has the possibility to create a lot of buzz around civics that hasn't existed in the community before. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of a civics nerd, so I always think it's really exciting, but I know not everybody feels the same level of enthusiasm for government. And so if you can create buzz in your community, that's really exciting. Carissa, do you have anything you're excited about this initiative?
Yes, I'm excited about where this will potentially um, lead our community members in the sense of more pride about who they are and more just decision making, better decision making.
Mm.
As young and old people, we need to make more informed decisions and better decisions. But yeah, I think that's an exciting thing, and hopefully we can start that and create that and keep it going.
Great. And then this one, we won't call on everyone, just speak up if you have any causes for concern. So is there still anything, whether about the actual planning of this or just the initiative itself that folks are concerned about, uncomfortable with, uh, curious how it will turn out?
I just get concerned when the community does hear about this and they don't understand the why portion of it.
Mm,
We're, like I've said before, we're a private community, so opening doors is really scary for a lot of our community. So I just want them to be mindful that this isn't anything new. Other tribes are doing this, that they all go through this process and it'll create better community members.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that like you've mentioned, like, Shakopee maybe doesn't share as much, but I think that this is something that we've heard in our other civics initiatives too, that people are worried about what the community is going to say. And Levi always talks about that, like how there will be people who question you. And so, are there any like kind of strategies you can think of to combat some of that, maybe community concern or potential mistrust?
I think I'm one that will always sit down and have a conversation with people and tell them why, what, how, all of that, and be super transparent about the intent of this. And with any project really. Um, but yeah,
Mm.
I think just being open and transparent, and this is not access to our whole constitution or all of these documents that are under lock and key in archives, but just
Mm.
these are things that have already been approved and have been shared before. So just compiling it all together into one great thing.
Yeah, and if I could suggest kind of as you're thinking about the marketing to your community, like maybe even just being sure to include that intent in there as you're working with your community. Of course, sitting down and meeting with folks is always the best thing. And you sounds like you have a small community, so that might be more doable than some other communities, but also just kind of starting with that could kind of mitigate some of those questions. Does anybody else have any kind of things that make them nervous or reasons for concern about the initiative?
And I think it's been brought up many times with just the keeping it going piece. is that, one piece of concern for me. I think there's such a desire and need to grow this from our collaborators, but actually putting that into action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, action's always the hardest, and that's why we, have these sessions built into the program because we found if you just do workshops with folks to get them excited, excitement is great, but doing is something else. And so I think that's just something we're also here to help with. At the end, Michelle's going to talk a little bit about kind of the continued support we can provide you all. And so if there's any way we can help kind of keeping that action move forward, please let us know. Any other concerns, things you're uncomfortable with? Right? And so then the next one, we will have everyone go around, but I'd love to hear just when you think about your initiative, what is an image or a metaphor that kind of comes to mind that represents your initiative? If you're feeling Jamboard savvy and can find a picture on Google Images real quick to paste in there, that's totally cool. Or you can just kind of visually talk and Michelle will scribe. So does anybody kind of have one that's coming to mind? An image or metaphor?
Okay. My initial thought was um Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they're all, that part where they're all singing and dancing and everything, and everyone's happy and celebratory. That's what came to mind. Like when this is all
Yeah.
done, this is what it's going to be like. So,
Oh, I love that. That is a very beautiful image. Glad that after about 8 hours of workshops, you're feeling excited. Let's see, what about you, Carissa? What kind of image or metaphor comes to mind with this project?
I don't know. I feel like I just looked up GIFs on my phone or whatever, and the SpongeBob just ripping his shirt, like, yes, we're so powerful and we can do this. I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Nice. Michelle will know I've used that GIF actually in some of our internal Jamboards. I did a whole like SpongeBob GIF story, and that was one of them. So I like that one. And Kellen, what about you?
I kind of think of that like image, of like a hometown football game that's like a real tough one and you win it and everybody rushes onto the field and is hugging each other and it's just happiness and the joy of winning.
Oh, that one actually gave me goosebumps just kind of thinking about all the excitement you all have and excitement for this. That's something that we hope to instill in you, but of course we can't like force you to feel excited. So it's really exciting for us to hear how much kind of energy is moving into this. And then lastly, we haven't really done a lot of focus brainstorming on it, but are there any like slogans or titles? Like I know, Carissa, yesterday you had come up with that Dakota word. Were you able to talk with the language folks at all? I know it hasn't been that long.
No, it's a Friday and they're all at
Yeah,
powwows this weekend, so
for sure.
hard to get people on a Friday during powwow season. But I think if we do have a CHP meeting, which is our Culture and Historical Preservation Work Group, we
Mm,
have a meeting on Monday, and I could potentially bring this to them and ask for their input,
mm.
because they might know something. And there's a lot of elders on that group, so I could ask them.
Yeah, that's great.
I will put that in my notes.
Thank you. Anything else coming to mind for folks for a title or a slogan?
I don't know one off the top of my head, but I always, youth are always so creative. I'd love to hear their thoughts after hearing our pilot of what they think we should call it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think starting with the elders, getting feedback from youth, I really think that's the way to go. Sometimes these names are better left kind of to reveal themselves. So great. Well, those are all the steps. We did have one more health break, but I vote we just kind of go through and finish off the workshop since we're already so far ahead. Does that sound okay to folks? Cool. So then with that, we'll pass it over to Michelle for a recap.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, echoing your all's enthusiasm and excitement and pride, just really excited about the work that you all accomplished over these last 2 afternoons, getting to work, especially on kind of a shorter holiday week. And then knowing it's powwow season, you did really accomplish a lot, both yesterday and into today. So, thinking about what we did, we reviewed the key actions that you identified yesterday. And we discussed the post-workshop recap meeting, thinking about those next steps on how you can move that project forward after August, especially since that's a concern you all have identified a few times now. So you all took time to go over your calendars and mapping those action steps onto your calendars, thinking about all of the tasks that you've already completed in preparation for August, and then thinking about what you may need to do over these next few weeks. This step was especially great thinking about your own time, as well as the timing of your partners, since we know that summers get busy, other folks get busy and have travel. So really making sure to get those meetings scheduled, and getting others in the loop so that they're aware of what you're doing. You also talked about coordinating your efforts, and you agreed that your successes that you identified are reflected in those original commitments that we talked about yesterday. You did think about needing to meet with the finance person moving forward to see where this budget will fit, which is excellent timing, knowing that you're in the budget process right now. So it sounds like you'll be bringing that to the education committee meeting on Monday. And then Carissa has agreed to take on the overall coordinator role with the idea that potentially Rebecca will shift these roles and responsibilities over to her as her roles change in the near future. And then you guys identified your team meeting time again on July 20th at 9:30 in person at the link before your strat meetings. And this may be an opportunity for you to share out the work that you accomplished here with the other folks that participated in the workshop series previously. This team meeting time was a little bit challenging for other folks' calendars. So maybe that July 20th, 9:30 time will be a chance for you to share. And I'll be sure to send out the Jamboard to you all so you can have this document to reference and share out with other folks as well, so they can see all that you accomplished. And then finally, we resolved all of the work that has happened over the last 2 days. So you all shared how defining your roles and responsibilities was really exciting and how the structure can really inspire your next steps, and see that the growth for this project is realistic in a way that maybe it hasn't been for your community before. So we love to hear that you're generating buzz around civics. Like Michaela said, not everybody is super excited about civics and thinking about history and how your government and policies work to lead your nation forward. So that's really cool to see. You all talked about the value of sharing information and guiding the youth to help them see pride in who they are, and helping them and other community members to create better and more informed decisions. And then, having that discussion again around community concerns on confidentiality, and why you're doing this project. And like Michaela mentioned, and I think maybe Kellen brought up as well, this can be addressed through maybe thoughtful marketing, and Carissa just talking about the conversations that you plan to have. And I think you all already identified great avenues for that at your general council and business council meetings, so that folks are aware about what you'll be sharing, and just being transparent about the process that you've all gone through so far. talking about the concerns around momentum, but I think you all really have identified ways to keep this excitement going. Even just thinking about the side conversation or the conversation you had with David this morning. It's great to hear that you all are talking about civics outside of these workshops that we're doing. And we hope that that will continue through the various committee meetings and working group meetings that you have. And so really the next step for you all is to put this plan into motion. So sounds like you've got things on the calendar already. We've identified calendar dates here. And we hope that you'll share updates with us as you continue through your work, certainly after the session in August, so we can hear how it went. And we do offer general support. So you can certainly reach out to us for continued support, and I'll speak more into what that could look like in a moment. But of course, we also want to have you save the date. On Thursday, December 7th, we'll have a cross cohort gathering for you to connect with other nations who are launching their own tribal civics projects. It'll be a chance for you to share, hear what others are doing, and then celebrate what you've accomplished too. So I think, bringing forward the project that you've done, we're really excited to hear that you'll be working with youth. As you heard from Levi, that's something that Leech Lake is interested in, but hasn't really done in the same way that you have. And then also thinking about how you're building that project in and how other folks have built this into their work cycles and their budgets as well. So I think that'll be really exciting. And we look forward to having all of our tribal civics teams come together in December to share. So speaking to like the general support and technical assistance that we can offer, we can provide a variety of, meetings and support tools similar to kind of what we did today, but maybe in a shorter format based on what you need. So some of the things that we can provide are thought partnership huddles, where we can listen to ideas, plans, and provide feedback and suggestions. We can also do strategizing calls where we can brainstorm and identify solutions to address roadblocks and challenges that may come up, especially thinking about the feedback that you receive in August and how your recap meeting goes. If you identify challenges at that time, we can certainly come up with a meeting time to go over that with you. We can also go over preparing for implementation. So supporting your team with developing your course launch and implementation, similar to how we did today, but maybe a little more condensed. I'm thinking about when you guys decide your new audience or how you want to format the course in the future. And then we can also go into using more tools. I know Lisa mentioned, using OneNote, but we can also go through different Google Suite apps, Mentimeter, Kahoot, Zoom, knowing that folks really do like those engaging, fun, interactive tools. If there's other things that you feel like you need or would be helpful from NGC, please let us know. We would definitely love to stay connected and support you as you continue to build out and improve your project. So were there any questions around the general support offerings that we're able to provide? Awesome. Okay. Well, I will go ahead and pass it off to Michaela now for our kind of wrap up and closing.
All right, y'all. So before we do kind of our last reflection discussion, would again really love to hear your thoughts in our survey. So Michelle's gonna drop that survey link. If you could just take the next 5 minutes to complete that. Again, this is the first time we've gone through this action planning process with anyone. So really need your feedback to help us know where we can improve and what to keep. So we'll give everyone 5 minutes, but we'll monitor responses. So we'll get started once we see 3 submissions. All right, we're at 3, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next part where we'll do just a quick little reflection kind of closing activity. So we're not going to do these questions exactly, mostly because I realize these are questions you answered in the resolve steps, so we don't need to kind of rehash that. So we'll go around in the circle. We'll keep the first one, but just love to hear one word that describes how you're feeling after leaving today. For the second question, I'd just love to hear if you have any closing thoughts or questions that you wanted to share with us. And then the third question is I'd just love to hear your initial reaction to the general support that we can provide, and if there's anything in particular you think might be helpful for your group. Of course, not holding you to anything that you say today, just curious to know what sounds helpful. So let's maybe go with Kellen. Would you like to go first?
Sure. Word that
Mm.
describes, I'd say I'm excited. You know, I feel like everything is starting to really take shape and be well organized. I'm really excited about that. You know, I know that I've heard Carissa say it a few times, it's just making sure that we continue might be the only aspect that is making me nervous. I want to make sure that we fully fledge out this project and it doesn't, die out after the pilot. And I think really, being in education and being a part of those task groups of, even my personal role of just making sure that we're continuing on with that and reaching out to you for support if we're starting to find that it's dying off and maybe meeting again to start planning that next step if needed.
Mhm. Awesome, thank you. Kellen? Sorry, Carissa.
The one word that describes, I'd mimic Kellen's and say I'm excited. After today's session, feel a little more confident. Any closing thoughts or questions? I don't think I really have any closing thoughts or questions for the group. Um, and then what kind of general support or technical assistance? I think maybe after we pilot this to our kiddos, if we could have just someone to check in and be like, hey, how'd it go? I think that would be like it was a train wreck where it wasn't. I think just keeping us accountable, along with our team, obviously, but I think if we have someone outside saying, hey, how'd it go? Just checking in, that would be awesome. Um, but I don't think I have any questions about anything.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure to check in. We're obviously excited and anxious to hear about how things went as well. So we'll love to connect after that August the 9th date. And then Lisa?
So I think like both Kellen and Carissa, I am feeling more confident. Um, and I'm kind of excited just for the initial meeting. And when we get started, um, regarding the support, I don't have any questions or anything, but regarding the support, I'm happy to hear that because then it doesn't feel kind of like this was the last meeting and that's that. And I appreciate the fact that there is going to be a cohort meeting, cross cohort meeting in December as well, so that we can learn from them, as we continue to plan for the future also.
Hmm. Wonderful. Well, again, just can't echo how great these last sessions have been with you all. You've gotten so much done in quite a quick time. We've ended like an hour early both days and still managed to get a lot done. So a lot of that's because you all have been so engaged and thoughtful, and just have really brought a lot to our planning sessions. So, you all will see each other again on the 20th at 9:30 in the morning. We'll follow up with PDFs of the Jamboards that you all did today, so you have that. We'll also send it out to kind of the whole group so that they can potentially join your meeting, and you can bring on more folks to help plan. So with that, that's all we have for you today, and we look forward to hearing how things go. So, thank you.